everybody, welcome back to Innovation Road Studio. I'm your host Noopur and I'm back with another interesting discussion today. And today I'm very happy to have Mr. Vinod Sood with us. He is a co-founder and managing director of Hughes Systique Corporation. He is a member of CII's National AI Forum and co-chair of CII Regional Committee on AI. He is involved in guiding and mentoring young entrepreneurs and startups. Welcome to our studio, Mr. Vinod.
Thank you, Noopur. It's a pleasure to be with you today and talking to you.
Thank you very much. So, since you are with us, we would like to talk about leading an enterprise and leading a startup because you have an extensive experience out there. So, Vinod, in current times, what are the challenges you are facing in leading an enterprise? And at the same time, how are you ensuring development of your team members and colleagues? I think these are two parts which you can answer.
Okay. So, Noopur, very relevant question and an important question. And what I would like to say is that leading an enterprise, especially during the times in which we are living, when the world is battling unprecedented situations like inflation, geopolitical developments taking place across the globe, the ongoing pandemic, or even in our industry, for example, the war for talent. So these are some of the challenges which we are going through. And in addition, there are also other factors. Okay. And I will mention some of these factors. And the first is technology innovation. Technologies are changing very fast. The second one is shortened cycles, be it product development, business, or economic uh, cycles earlier, which used to run into 7, 8, 10 years. These cycles have really shortened. Okay. And the third one is there is intense competition. And last but not the least, and I don't know how to word it, whether to say globalization or deglobalization. But whatever it is, okay, from one extreme of globalization, looks like we are getting to the other extreme, which is deglobalization. But the result of this is that the markets are shifting drastically because of this. Customers are becoming more demanding and they want better value. They, in fact, are looking for solution providers, partners who understand their business and pain points and provide solutions rather than looking for a vendor. Now, a combination of these means that the management systems, processes, and rules have to be dynamic and no longer rigid. We have to adapt with time, and as they say, change is a constant. And this phrase, change is the constant, is even more apt for the times we are living. So, given the speed of change, there is no point trying to predict the future. So, instead of building for the future, it is prudent to satisfy the present requirements effectively and quickly, keeping the architecture and design relevant for future so that expansion and new capabilities can be built easily. So concept of build for today and design for tomorrow is something which is very relevant. Now, if you see at this moment, it is very clear that organization capability building has to be the topmost priority for any enterprise. And the enterprise can be a established business or a startup. And this is something which is very essential to achieve business excellence. Organizations have to focus on their talent management systems, including hiring, training, and skill development initiatives. Now, addressing the second part of the question, I would say that everybody has some unique talents, which, if discovered and nurtured, can lift the person and the world around him or her to a higher level. So, I believe the key to unlocking one's potential is to have a positive and a sustained purpose, a cause to which one can dedicate oneself. I think it is the positive force that creates focus and commitment, and that is something which can inspire extraordinary effort. I'll share with you an example. Gandhiji was a simple man, but he had a powerful purpose. And this lifted him into becoming a Mahatma. And in the process, he was able to shake the foundations of a mighty empire. Uh, Recently, Dr. Kalam came from a very ordinary background, but while he was a child, he had a dream to become a pilot. So, a powerful purpose can unlock the amazing energies within us, not just to lift us, but also the world around us. Now, very clearly, defining our purpose needs a conscious effort. And also, to find our positive and sustained purpose, we actually need to find intersection of three forces: our passion, our unique talents, and the third dimension is serving some important or a critical need. So if you see, passion creates interest, energy, and motivation. And the unique talent creates alignment and excellence. So you have passion, which will motivate you, which will give you the energy to what you want to do, and your unique talent, okay, aligned with that passion, will enable you to excel. And what now you have to connect is connect your passion and your talent with an important need, okay, which you can serve, which creates lasting value. So if you see, any one of the above three could get us going, but the magic happens when all of them come together. Okay. Yeah. So that is something which I always believe. And having said that, let me also say that it might not happen that you are able to discover your passion on day one. Okay. It might mean that you need to try out different things. Sometimes you may fail, but then only and until you try various things, you may be able to figure out what is it that you love doing and what is it that you would be happy doing all your life. So I hope that this answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And one amazing thing out there is excellence is driven by a powerful passion, aspiration, or a purpose. So that's something really insightful. Thanks for sharing that, Vinod. And now coming to another topic, um, one of the most major concerns for any leader is lack of ownership and responsibility.
Mhm.
How do you deal with these things, lack of ownership and responsibility?
Okay, yeah, a difficult question, but so let me start with a small story which I read in Harvard Business Review few years back. A businessman was on a long haul flight. A warning that something was wrong came over the PA system, and the pilot asked everyone to take their seats and fasten the seatbelts. The, the plane came upon the storm shortly after this announcement. Thunder could be heard all around the aircraft, and lightning could be seen lighting up the dark sky. Within matter of minutes, the plane was being tossed around like a small toy, with passengers becoming fearfully alarmed by every big bump which they were subjected to. The businessman on the seat, on one of the seats, was becoming very anxious, and suddenly he saw a little girl who was sitting in the seat adjacent to his seat. And it seemed like the storm meant nothing to this little girl. Worry and fear were not in her world. When all the adults were scared half to death, the little girl was completely composed and unafraid. Uh, Seeing this, the businessman was completely amazed. So after a while, once the plane got out of the storm and after the plane landed, the businessman asked this little girl that how come you were not afraid? And the little girl replied, Sir, my dad is the pilot and he is taking me home. So if you see in these unprecedented times, do our people or do our employees trust their managers to take care of them or to take them home? Has the manager created enough trust in his or her people that there's never an end of the business world or life is not going to come to an end? Has she or he instilled in them that there always will be an opportunity and this difficult situation also will pass? And if you go back to the story, the little girl was aware of the person who could take ownership of over the situation, who was her dad. And in turn, the dad or the pilot was aware of his responsibilities both as a pilot and a father. So the strength of a good manager is to forecast and communicate with his team, which is what the pilot did. So to answer your question, we as leaders and managers have to unlearn what we have learned over our lifetime. Things which made us successful till now might not work since management practices formulated for a stable and a structured environment are no longer relevant. We cannot have a mindset that something which had worked in the past will work now too. So, elaborating on this, managers need to be more hands on. The focus now has to be more on doing rather than on thinking and planning. Managers have to be close to where the action is, they have to be connected so that they can pick up changes quickly and respond decisively without getting into long analyze, plan, approve, and then do cycles. And in the end, it's also very important to communicate openly, sharing the future path, letting them know of decisions which might affect them in some way or the other, and 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 especially the tough decisions, okay, which for some reason a lot of companies or managers refrain from sharing with their employees. So it is always prudent to be upfront with communication with your team Okay. After all, they are in this with you. Okay. So basically, if you are able to instill the trust, communicate openly, and empathize with your people, and are able to give them that confidence and comfort that we are all in this together, and this situation also will pass, I think automatically you will get their trust, and you will see they taking responsibility and ownership of whatever is entrusted to them.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Vinod. And before moving on to our next question, I would like to highlight that you have been an early mentor and advisor to OYO's Ritesh Agrawal when he came down to Delhi in early 2012. So
Right,
that might
right.
be something to share about it. My next question is around the same
Okay,
lines when we
okay.
talk about startups. What are the factors behind a successful startup, and what qualities can established enterprises learn from a startup? I think you have an
Okay.
amazing experience around this.
Sure, sure, sure. So yeah, so you are right. I was one of the early advisors, mentors to Ritesh Agarwal of Oyo Rooms. In fact, when Ritesh, as a young boy, after completing his school, he went to Kota to start preparing for his IIT entrance, and apparently that is when he thought that that is something which he doesn't want to do, and he had this idea of building a Airbnb kind of a uh, system for Indian needs, and that is when he decided to leave Kota and came to Delhi. And this was, if I remember, sometime late 2011, early 2012, and that is when he got connected to me, and he requested me to be his advisor and mentor. And first 2 or 3 years, from 2012 to 2015, pretty much, yeah, I worked with him very, very closely in terms of helping him to refine his idea, connecting him with a lot of people in the startup ecosystem, not just in India but in US. Okay, I was his referee for the Thiel Fellowship, and also helped him in getting his first check from Venture Nursery. So yeah, so that was very, very, very interesting times, and I'm so happy that what he has been able to achieve, where his company Oyo has gone on, and what he himself has been able to achieve. So it gives me a lot of satisfaction that I played a small part in his and Oyo's success. So thank you for mentioning that, and it just rekindled some old memories. So I thought let me spend some time on part. So okay, so coming back to your question, okay, and your question was if I recollect, what are the factors behind a successful startup, and what qualities can established enterprises learn from startups, or vice versa.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think there are three key factors for a startup to become successful, and not in any particular order. Upskilling, which is upskilling your team, your people, flexibility, and communication of ideas and decisions. So if I use the short form UFC, so while UFC is popular as Ultimate Fighting Championship and is a mixed martial art format, in this competitive world of startups, UFC I have spoken about. which is upskilling, flexibility, and communication, can really be the winning factor. So if you see, for any organization to thrive, and the organization can be an enterprise or it can be a startup, and especially so for a startup, uh, it, it is it is very important to constantly invest and find ways to upskill your employees. What is important is invest in your people, okay? See that they are learning new skills, they are getting the right tools to do their job, and they continue growing in their roles. If you see, the role of sound knowledge of skills can't be emphasized enough. However, in the current world, learning will now need to extend through a professional's career over the lifetime. So, competency development and reskilling has to become a way of life and not just a stage in life. Earlier, if you see, one used to learn, work, and then retire. So first 20 to 25 years of your life, right? School, college, your professional qualification, and then you work for another 35 to 40 years, and then you retire pretty much. Okay. But now it is learn, work. Maybe after that, you just want to pursue your dream, your hobby. You want to discover what your passion is. So you do that, you take a gap year, okay, you take a break, relax, okay. Again, learn, okay, pick up some new skills, okay. Or if you discover your passion, maybe it means that some of the competencies and skills you have, okay, they need to be uh, relearned, okay, or they need to be polished. And this cycle continues repeating. So it is the duty of the leaders of startup to identify the learning opportunities, find out the interest areas of their team members, and invest in upskilling them. Let's come to the second one, which we talked about, the F in the UFC, flexibility. And as we just saw, given the situation we are in, where things are changing so fast, flexibility is something which is very, very important. And this is because, as I just mentioned, the velocity of change is very fast. And because of that, the focus has to be on quick and smart decisions and actions. And that is something which will reduce variability. If you see, you do not have the time to develop a nice sequential plan, and certainly not the opportunity to follow it in a very structured kind of a manner. And as we also talked about in our previous question, cycles have shortened. So what this means is that one needs to be nimble and one needs to be responsive to change. So that is where I think flexibility becomes very, very important. And lastly, I think what is important is, and this also I talked about briefly, uh, is it's very important to communicate well with your team, with your people, with your employees. So let there be exchange and free flow of ideas amongst your people. So it's healthy for an organization to be open and free from any form of biases or prejudices. Only a clear channel of communication can result in quick resolution of problems and underlying issues. And actually, if you see, this also enables creating an atmosphere which is conducive for open communication. And related to this also is the fact that hierarchy needs to be avoided at all costs, and instead a flat form of organization structure needs to be developed. And to just elaborate a couple of things more, uh, if I take enterprises, okay, I think enterprises can really benefit to move back to the drawing board every now and then to get a reality check on the initial goals and frameworks that they would have set for themselves. If you see enterprises, because of their sheer size and volume, are often constrained and they start resembling dinosaurs. And unfortunately, we are not in the ice age. So, what we have to do is we have to really pick up pace. And I think that is what enterprises can learn from startups. Okay. So, taking a cue from startups, we have to understand that speed and time to market are the key. And because cycle times have drastically reduced, okay, so the focus has to be on short and quick delivery cycles. Making long drawn plans and execution cycles is totally irrelevant. So enterprises basically have to pick up this concept of fail fast, which they need to adopt, which, as you know, is very common in startups. Okay. So basically build something quickly, maybe a proof of concept, take it to the customer, get feedback, and then based on that, you proceed further. So I hope I covered many dimensions of what enterprises and startups, okay, need to be successful and what they can learn from each other.
Certainly, Vinod, and it's been really, really insightful because I think startups and enterprises both have something to learn from each other, and if they start doing it, it'll be of their benefit. So
Absolutely.
it's amazing. We spoke about leading enterprise, leading and startup, and what are certain things that they can learn from each other. You have beautifully
Mhm.
explained everything. So thanks for that. And with that, we'll move on to our next round, Vinod, which is going to be a rapid fire. We'll be
Oh,
quick on this round. So we'll get to know a little more about you.
so you are
Yeah,
putting me on the block.
yeah, absolutely. So who is your inspiration in life?
So I'll answer this question slightly differently. I don't think I'll be able to name a person who is an inspiration, but the what I draw inspiration from is when I see common man on the street. And what I mean is a common man with very limited means, coming from a very ordinary background, who really is struggling to make two ends meet, is still every day, okay, getting up, uh, going on with his or her life, supporting his or her family with a dream or with a vision that they take care of their families and make sure that they give good education to their children. Okay. And in addition to that, they are ever ready and willing to help others who may be in much more dire situation and need help. So I get inspiration from them that we all who have all the means, who are so well to do, right, who have a great network. Okay, uh, we should look at the situation in front of us, life in front of us, much more positively. Okay, if they, with their limited means and with all the challenges they go through, okay, are able to inspire themselves, then why should we keep looking for motivation outside or inspiration outside? So, a long answer to a rapid fire question, but sorry, I couldn't help it.
But it made a lot of sense. So thanks for sharing that. Uh, which is your favorite quote?
Wow. So I'll give you two quotes. So one is which almost all of us have heard about, we talk about, and in fact, in couple of questions, we talked about that the situation we are living in, the world we are living in, is changing very fast. So basically, the quote is from Gandhi ji: "Be the change you want to see in the world." So that is one of my favorite quotes. And the second one is that this also is something which is very relevant to the startups with whom I work, and especially the young founders I work with. So the quote is from Thomas Alva Edison, and it is: "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." So we read stories about very successful founders. We read stories about unicorn founders. And as I mentioned, I also was a mentor to OYO founder Ritesh Agarwal in his early years. And I know all these peoples because the stories which are told outside or written about are only about success. But there were innumerable times when these folks were just okay, some distance from success, okay, but they were in such a dire situation, such they were going through such challenging times that if they had given up, right, they wouldn't have been talked about.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the I think that's the nature of keep going. If you
Yeah,
stop,
keep
I think the
going.
success is just a
Yes,
step away from you.
yes. Keep going. Keep doing your best. Okay, and success will come eventually. There will be failures, but learn from those failures. Okay, those failures are like stepping stones, and eventually you will succeed.
Yeah, yeah. Vinod, what do you do in your spare time?
Okay, so spare time, few things. One, I like music, listening to music. I like watching movies and shows. And before COVID, in fact, once in a while we used to go to watch a play or go to a concert. Okay, but yeah, during the COVID times also, we spent time by listening to music, watching a number of movies, shows, and also I read a lot. I read a lot of books. So and other than that, as I mentioned, apart from my full-time role at Hughes Systique, I help mentor, advise a number of young startup founders. So these are some of the things which I do in my spare time.
Yeah, that's great. And since you have mentioned that you like reading, can you mention us a book which you've recently read or you're currently reading?
Okay. So as I said, I read a lot, and at any point of time, I may be reading two or three books. Okay, and different genres. So one book which I finished reading just about a couple of months back is around negotiations. Okay, and the name of the book is Never Split the Difference. negotiate as if your life depended on it. The author is Chris Voss. It's a phenomenal book. And another book which I am currently reading is a book around called Anti-Inflammation Zone, and the author is Dr. Barry Sears. And this talks about how using the right kind of diet and lifestyle, one can reverse the silent epidemic, which is basically heart failures, diabetes, cancer, and all these diseases. So these are a couple of books which I have read or I'm reading in the last month or couple of months.
Yeah, I'm going to read some of them for sure.
Sure, absolutely.
So with that, we are coming towards the end of our discussion. We have discussed a lot, many things. We got to learn a little bit about you as well. Now we would like to
Mhm.
conclude with one quick tip you have for strategic leadership for an enterprise leader as well as a startup owner.
Hmm. So, so what I would like to say is measure your success by not comparing yourself with others. If you see, life is a marathon and not a sprint, and there is no predictable formula for success. Sometimes, if you see, your best efforts go waste, and sometimes you get success which you never thought of. And that actually is life, unpredictable with many ups and downs, not deterministic. So it is important to have a broad and a flexible perspective towards life, not get arrogant with success, and also not get depressed with failures. And what one has to do is don't leave any opportunity to learn, make mistakes, experiment, and keep doing your best. So that is something which, as a advice or whatever you want to want to leave our listeners and viewers with.
Thank you, Vinod. It was wonderful having you. You have shared a lot of your experiences, insights, and some great ideas about strategic leadership with us. I'm sure the audiences are going to like it, and the listeners are going to enjoy this whole discussion. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you, Noopur, for giving me the opportunity, and I also enjoyed talking to you. And I hope your listeners and your audience also will benefit from this talk. Thank you very much.